everybody, it's Sophie and Marco dishing out on the movies, etc. Today we continue to review Marvel movies leading up to the premiere of Avengers Infinity War out at the end of this week. Robert Downey Jr., an accomplished and talented actor, stars in Iron Man, which we are reviewing today. The first one, which premiered in 2008, and believe it or not, this is the very first time I've ever seen it. The movie begins like a giant sliding puzzle, jumping back and forth between events. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, head of Stark Industries, decked out in a nice suit and sunglasses, riding in a Humvee in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, taking intermittent gulps of a glass of whiskey while posing for selfies, with American soldiers protecting him and themselves in the middle of a war zone. Suddenly, all hell breaks loose because they have been attacked with a rocket launcher and/or driven over an IED. Hopefully that's the correct initials, or roadside bomb. Bodies are flying everywhere and the situation looks bad. Immediately, we switch up to a news report showing Tony Stark. Images of him as a kid talking about how smart he is, how much of a genius he is, graduating from MIT at age 21, and finally becoming CEO of Stark Industries, the primary source of military weaponry in the world. Oh, another switch, and we're back to Afghanistan, with Tony Stark making a weapons presentation to military bigwigs at the front. At the press of a button, a multitude of rockets, grouped up like a wall of thunder, explode into the air. Everywhere you look, the labels on the weapons on the ground say Stark Industries. The wall of rockets is a brand new military advanced weapon that Stark invented that will sell and bring in millions or maybe billions to his burgeoning personal bank account and to the stocks and worth of his massive weapons company. Scene switch. Stark has been captured by one of the leaders of the bad guys, the Taliban, I guess, considering when the movie was made. The bad guys had...
2008.
Yeah, I know, so I don't think it would have been ISIS. Anyway, the bad guys had infiltrated the American military unit and seen a demonstration of Stark's lethal new rocket wall, and they want him to build that new weapon systems for themselves. His reputation of being a total genius is well known, so they will provide him with just about everything he needs to make it. A man named Yinsen, played by Sean Toob, an interpreter and a prisoner too, kept Stark alive with a car battery and a circular piece of metal embedded in his chest that kept the barbed arrow shrapnel that he sustained in that attack on the Humvee from completely penetrating his internal organs. Okay, so this guy is going to help Stark with this weapon building too. However, Stark has other ideas. He has a new idea. Remember, he's a genius. A suit that is equipped with hand-firing rockets and the ability to self-propel himself into the air at a fast speed. And it will all be built around the circular piece in his chest. As he works on this project in a cave in Afghanistan, the bad guys have cameras honed in on him. One of them remarks, "That sure doesn't look like the weapon that we saw in the desert." I guess not. Just a minute. So, they pay him a little visit and make a few threats. Now he has only 24 hours to make that weapon presented at the demonstration, an absolutely totally ridiculous and stupid request. Probably, in my eye, the stupidest thing in the whole movie. I mean, they couldn't be that dumb, and it's just stupid and not realistic. And they're making it
What's stupid?
to make that weapon they saw in the desert
yeah.
in a cave.
Yeah.
It's just in a cave in Afghanistan. He made the other stuff in very highly sophisticated.
Well, I think that the most queerbait part was the leader of the terrorist group. He's like, oh yeah, I'm Alexander the Great, and I'm gonna take over the United States and the universe because I'm cool, and I'm gonna be this big leader and conquer everybody. Like, he's really full of himself, even more than Iron Man is. And that's bet someone's even more full of themselves than Tony Stark was. Wow.
Well, Stark pretends to agree, but he knows the guy's an idiot. Plus, he wouldn't do it even if he was in a perfectly beautiful weapons building environment like at home. But instead, he hurriedly fashions together the special suit. Within 24 hours, Iron Man is born. His interpreter friend dies in the escape battle, buying Stark time to don the suit, fire rockets at the bad guys, and fly away to the middle of the desert where the suit falls apart upon landing. But he's alive and is rescued by the American military after being held captive for a month. And basically, when you watch it, you don't realize a whole month has gone by. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like it was only like a
few days.
One day. 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. Of course, this experience has made a life changing impact on Stark. He saw soldiers, innocent men. Actually, I don't. Wait, there was a woman in there too. They weren't. He saw them being killed. They were protecting him, and his friend, the interpreter, then the guy who kept him alive in the cave, he was killed too, giving him a head start to finish rigging up the suit to wear it and to use it. So he no longer wants to make weapons that kill, maim, and destroy, hurting innocent people in the process of war. Stark wants to fine tune the special suit instead, his most creative weapon yet, but doesn't tell anyone because everybody thinks he's gone off the rails. Why?
Because this is America, and we have to bomb poor people in other countries all the time.
Well, I guess another stupid thing. When he returned from Afghanistan, and you know, as somebody who's lived in a third world country, and he was there in a cave for a month, you have to have a little bit of time to. It's called reverse culture shock, and they take him from the airport to a big meeting in front of his his company, and he said they asked him on the way in the car, well, what do you want to do? And he says, I just want to get a cheeseburger, and I really can relate to that. And and they get him a cheeseburger, but they make him go to this big meeting where he has to get up in front of his company. I mean, after he's just been held captive for a month, and he survived just barely by using his brain and because of those brave soldiers and that brave interpreter. And so they make him get up there, and I guess he was supposed to say, hi, everybody, I'm glad that you waited for me.
Now let's go back to bombing poor people again.
So, but when he gets up there, he's hurriedly downing a cheeseburger, which is just so unfair. He immediately announces his plans to stop making these big cash cow military weapons. That frightened everybody. especially the greedy Jeff Bridges, one of the upper echelon in his company, who wants him out of the way now. He plays a great villain, and I wouldn't have recognized him if it wasn't for his distinctive voice. Gwyneth Paltrow is Pepper Potts, Stark's assistant, who has been with him for years. Clark Gregg plays Agent Coulson, a Homeland Security debriefer who wants to talk to Stark about his cave experience, and Terrence Howard plays Rhodey, a higher up in the military. I couldn't tell what he was. I don't know if he was. I don't think he was a general, but I couldn't tell. I just don't know about those things. He had a lot of bars. Anyway.
I think he's a colonel.
Oh, okay. That's.
He wasn't very talented.
Well, I know, but he was playing his best friend, and
In
I
fact,
don't think
he was a jackass.
Well, he was at first, because he is like his best friend, but he also thinks Stark is crazy. So I'll turn it over to Marco to see what he wants to say, and then I have my little rating and one more comment to make about
Okay,
it.
it's 11 minutes already. Wow. Okay. I saw this movie in theaters without knowing anything Iron Man's about, and I really liked it. So that shows something. I liked it. I didn't even know what the character was.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's very short, is what it seems like. I don't know. I have some problems with it. There's some pacing issues, but I think that the acting is really good, especially from Robert Downey Jr. and Jeff Bridges, who people, I mean, nobody talks about them. They're always like, oh, Marvel doesn't have any good villains, but Jeff Bridges is a really good villain.
He's a very good villain. Nothing like greed and avarice, too.
I do think he's underused though, as I think all the villains are. And then, there are these interviews actually that talk about that. They say the reason why villains are underused is because this is a hero story. This isn't the villain story, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. And I think that you should be able to have both, and that nothing's just a hero story, and I hate that. It's horrible. And why even make the movie? I mean, the whole point of the movie is that there's somebody who's the opposite of the other person, and they have to be defeated. So why wouldn't you flesh out both characters? And the way that Jeff Bridges, he makes a darker turn towards the back half of the movie, where he reveals to him that he's the one who filed an injunction against him. And
yeah, they don't like it. That, like I said, they don't like it that he decided to just not make these military weapons anymore. In fact, the stock of a major company, it went down like 50%. So yes, the company would not like it. So he made somebody who's as greedy as Jeff Bridges' character with, and I didn't he say, now maybe I was mistaken because I've never seen the movie before, never read the comic books. Didn't he say he killed his father?
no,
No?
Safi did not kill his father.
Well, anyway, he's so greedy that he's not going to let him, heaven forbid, that
Who killed his father? Safi.
I don't know if his father was.
If you really don't know who killed his father, then you really need to get a memory check. Because Safi actually saw Civil War before watching Iron Man. The fact that she doesn't know who killed Iron Man's parents is ridiculous. Who killed Iron
Yeah.
Man's parents?
Was it the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just that was in such a completely different context. Completely
No,
different.
he was the one who put a hit out on him, and he was the one who hired those terrorists to capture him and kill him. They didn't actually know who they were capturing. They thought that they were going to capture some lower person, but then they found out it's him, and they demanded ransom for his release because they're like, we don't want to kill this guy. So
Okay, I got that cleared up.
I don't know what else is there to say about the movie.
Well,
It's a great origin story.
yeah.
The love interest, I think they're I
I wasn't really sure if that was a real love interest or not because I thought that they just were such good friends and they worked so closely together that they really couldn't fall in love.
no, they do fall in love and they get married. So
Oh, they do. Okay.
but
So I haven't seen any of the other Iron Mans
the
except
problem is
when he's
that
with a group.
the problem is that I think that she's in the movie a little bit too much because although I think she's important to the movie, I think the middle of the movie kind of takes a romance subplot a little bit, and I don't like that because the rest of the movie is just his origin story, and I didn't think it really fit. And I think that there could have been more in this movie, and I think that it's kind of lazy filmmaking to just have the whole movie be the origin story and nothing else. Because then you have Batman Begins, and that movie's like half origin story, half another story, and it's really really good. But I think this movie's fantastic, and I'm just talking about the flaws because you get tired of just saying everything's perfect about it. Uh, I'll reveal where it stands in my Marvel movie list when we do that. Excuse me, when we do that video.
Okay, well, I thought it was a very fast-moving movie, and there was a lot of action, and I thought it was a pretty good storyline. And I'm really surprised now that Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. get together because I've seen and I've seen it too where you have a, a couple who they work so closely together and they're just such good friends that they couldn't be lovers. So who knows? But it'll be interesting to see uh, that flesh out in another Iron Man movie. I know there are other which I will have to watch, but I haven't watched any. This is the very first one I've ever watched. So.
The second one's not very good, but the third one is the worst. So
Oh,
the
okay.
second one, it's not that bad though. It's underrated.
Okay. Well, uh, and I really thought the casting was really good. I know he said he didn't like his best friend, and
Well, I
he
don't.
thought she was in it too much, or Gwyneth
A
Paltrow.
little bit too much. You could have cut out one scene and replaced it with something else.
And then they had um, the character, the interpreter, and you didn't know him for very long, but you really felt sad when he died, and he wasn't. I don't know what he was supposed to be, but he didn't seem like he was a soldier, and he got out there shooting away, buying him time, and
I see.
I thought that was really sad.
I thought originally that maybe he was gonna turn out to be a bad guy, and that he was gonna come back. That's what I thought when I first watched the movie. Like they revealed that they shot
Oh,
him with blanks, and that he's the bad guy,
oh no, they
or
wouldn't have
something
done
like
that.
that. Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense either. If they were going to use him for, let's say, what would have been the obvious thing and what has really happened in the Middle East forever and ever is they would have used him to get money. But I guess maybe they had so much money because I mean they were able to provide all of this material and a computer. Can you imagine that in the middle of a
all
cave in the
these
desert, a computer?
all these materials. I mean, I'm
Where
not talking about just a couple of garbage scraps. I'm
no
talking about
real good materials. but you don't have the laboratory or the clean. Uh, just a lot of things people know if they want to make something like that, they would have to have a lot more than just the materials.
Do you though?
So anyway, I guess the only thing about the characterization I didn't like, I thought the bad guys, the reason I keep calling them the bad guys, I don't know what they were because they were so generic. It was like anybody who's Islamic is a bad guy. And they didn't even look Islamic. In other words, they were not wearing all the typical stuff that I've seen people, real people who are Muslim, who I lived with in Tanzania, wear. And they just didn't. They just seemed like generic bad guys. They could have been anybody. They could have been the mafia. I mean, they were just really. Except they spoke Arabic. And Arabic
Well,
is not just
it
one
it was a time,
Arabic.
and the stereotypes.
Yeah, I don't
and-
care for that stereotype stuff. I really don't. I'm sorry. But even they would have an issue with it. We're not, all Americans aren't alike, okay? So either are people from Islamic countries, they're not all alike either. And there's not just one version of Arabic either. I hate to tell you, there's multiple versions. So anyway, we would know that anyway. Nobody here speaks Arabic. But anyway, that's the only issue I have. I thought the characterization was really good.
Oh, I thought that the third act went by really really quickly, and
Yeah.
I think that it should have had more because honestly he didn't save very many people in the movie.
No,
he
not
saved
really.
he saved those people in the middle, but why did you stop there? Why wouldn't you have him save more people?
Well,
and
why
prove-
wouldn't he go over to where the Americans were based?
He's got this giant Iron Man suit. Why isn't he using it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Anyway, we could just tear it up to pieces because I think you probably tear anything you watch or you read to pieces if
No,
you wanted to.
this is real problem.
Excuse me.
It's very short, and that's
Yeah, it
and,
is.
and it could have been stuff could have been added. That's not something that's unreasonable to say about it.
Yeah.
That I'm just making up to criticize for fun.
Also, another thing I really didn't like, and I was making fun and teasing, but at the very beginning,
You didn't like.
I
how it
didn't like the
jumped
way they were
around.
jumped around. There's no explanation. I've been binge watching Grimm. I used to be, it was my favorite show, so I'm like rewatching it for fun. And they were at the end of the second season and going into the first, they'll say 5 minutes ago, 5 minutes later, 6 months ago, a year later. And they don't do that at
Well,
all.
they
So
just-
I'm like almost
They just think that
confused.
the audience is intelligent enough to figure it out themselves.
Well, we're overdoing it a little bit, but
Not
still, they
really.
could have done. I mean,
They're
in
not.
Grimm.
They're not pulling a Twin Peaks: The Return season finale type of thing.
But I mean, they could have just a little bit of an explanation. Like, for instance, like I said, both of us said we didn't even know he was in that cave for a month. I
Yeah,
mean, I
That's
did not.
pacing problems.
That
I'm
didn't-
telling you, that's pacing.
Oh well, see, I don't know that kind of thing, but
It's
that
not-
to me that's weird.
It's just
okay.
common sense.
And that's because, and I think because they had this thing about the back and forth, like where are we? And so it seemed like maybe 2 or 3 days, and it was a whole month. That's what I'm saying. That was the other idiotic thing. He's just been held captive in a cave, saved from dying with a mechanical thing in his chest that keeps barbed shrapnel from ripping
He
his
has
organs
to go to the
to shred.
hospital.
Yeah, yeah, and Pepper Pot or whatever her name is, she says, okay, we're going to the hospital right now. Oh no, I just want a cheeseburger. Forget about the hospital crap. And when they take him to a stockholders company's meeting where he's
So that people
presented,
can criticize him for not bombing poor people.
and well, this is their livelihoods. You're talking about all these people who have a job, and like when you say you don't want to do that anymore, I'm talking about the underlings. They're out there on the audience clapping, just happy that he's alive, and he's saying, I don't want to make these anymore. And then the stock goes down 50%. People who are working, the nuts and bolts people at the bottom, they're going like, uh-oh, there goes our jobs. You know, it's not who cares about these CEOs that make millions and millions of dollars and drive expensive cars and could afford a little cut. It was the underlings at the bottom who probably were, but they weren't going to kill them for it, like the
Mr. Jeff Bridges.
yeah, Jeff Bridges, who shaves his head. So that's what I say. Neither one of us.
And I think that he looks a little bit like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I guess a little bit. But let's not even go there. So anyway, why don't we rate it? Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I give this movie a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger, sorry.
Oh, that's a good
excuse
idea.
me.
I never even thought about the most obvious
I give
thing.
it a cheeseburger. Homemade cheeseburger, none of that
Or
McDonald's.
Wendy's or...
Ugh.
God.
Gross. Well, maybe A&W. A&W's burger is really good. A&W's food is better than most fast food.
We
in
only get it
general.
when we go on vacation
And
because they don't have any around here.
What's that other place that's really good? The one that I had in.
Carvel's? Carvel's? Carvel's.
No. It's that place, remember?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Culver's.
Culver's. Is
And
that right?
Their fast food is better than most fast food as well.
Oh God.
And you didn't have it.
I had something else.
You
I
had
had what I had.
tenderloin.
I liked it. Well, I liked the tenderloin. You can't get a good pork tenderloin anywhere, and they had a really good one. Not like what I was used to where I lived in junior high and high school.
Well, I give it a cheeseburger homemade, as I said, with ketchup and mustard, no pickle, none of that other extra stuff, and also, excuse me, no fries, of course, because that would mean that the movie's like big, it's longer. Like it's not. It needs to be longer. So I would say no fries. And that's the movie's biggest problem. And I would say also for a drink, a red and blue mixed slushie. What would you get?
Might as well make a red, white, and blue slushie.
No way, Jose.
Okay, how to rate it? Another toughie. I thought it was a good, solid movie with excellent actors leading it, like I've said already. And Jeff Bridges, I want to say, is terrifying in the end. The final fight scene reminded me a little of the old Godzilla and Power Rangers movies and TV shows. Remember, I'm a mother of a boy who watched the original Power Rangers after school. I guess I would give it an open roast beef sandwich with mashed potatoes and gravy and roasted vegetables accompanied by a glass of iced tea and maybe an aperitif after dinner to celebrate the completion of the suit in evading some fast military fighter jets with a perfect ending to a fun movie that I enjoyed watching.
Could have been longer. Could have had more to it.
I don't think I have time to watch any longer kind of movies.
It was very short.
Got way too many things to do.
So
That's it, and be sure to keep on the lookout. I'm still reading Cave of Bones by Anne Hillerman, and that will be our first book review. And Marco is not reading it, so I'm going to just do the review myself, but he will be doing some projects on his own as well. Okay?
now we're gonna watch The Avengers.
Yay! Oh boy. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you soon.